First of all, let me say something nice about Mag Visaggio. She has potential. There is potential buried underneath all that identity politics, where a lot of the other SJW writers in mainstream comics can't be saved, don't have potential. Like even Gail Simone has a lot of potential. She can be very, very funny, and Gail Simone is light years better than Mag Visaggio. But Mag Visaggio could be saved if she put down the identity politics and stopped grinding the axe. Absolutely. Like Kim and Kim could be saved. That comic could be polished with an editor who was willing to work with Mags and teach her a little writing 101, and then teach the artists just a few things, just a little bit. But it would have to be, you'd have to be in a position where you felt comfortable. Like a lot of SJWs don't feel comfortable getting feedback. They feel it as a personal attack. And when you're in almost any industry, you better get very, very comfortable with getting feedback if you want to improve. So some of her work could be saved, or someone like Kwanzaa, I don't think has that same potential. Anyway, this is the book that Kwanzaa was losing his rag over on Twitter the other day. I think I made the video yesterday about Kwanzaa, and I love doing Kwanzaa videos just because I love doing the Kwanzaa voice, which I think is excellent. It's not as good as your boy. Your boy said about Mags that she's just garbage. She can't be saved. There's no redeeming quality in there. But I think there is a little bit. I think he's kind of a little harsh on her. Kim and Kim was fun. Eternity Girl was just the author's pathological chronic depression put on 6 issues, and it should never have been published. It's just 6 issues about the author, Mag Visaggio, getting closer and closer to a terminal self-harm event. Eternity Girl was a cry for help. Anyway, this is the thing that Kwanzaa was so upset about. It got canceled. As you can see, it's on issue 1 by IDW, celebrating their 20 years, I guess. And you're probably wondering, well, how does a book get canceled after issue 1? I mean, that's the only thing worse than that is having books come out that don't never come out. They get canceled before they write them, they draw them, they get them ready to go out, and then they get canceled. I think that happened. I think there was a Chelsea Kane book that happened too, and maybe Aubrey Sitterson had a book that happened too. They just said, we'll just pay you off your contract for the episode and move on because it's just not worth it. Okay, how bad is this to get canceled after 1 issue? As you can tell by the art, it's not great. It's not quite ready for publication. It feels like, if you just tried to make the characters beautiful, you probably would be ready for publication. I know you're terrified of attracting the male gaze, but even females like to look at beautiful females. So you gotta give her some shape. I got assaulted by mosquitoes when I wasn't getting chased by coyotes when I went camping. Let me tell you, coyotes are vicious little bastards. Okay, this isn't a compelling image. I know every other review I do, I talk about breasts, which is like not the word I would choose, but I'm trying to keep it PG. Women have breasts. They have hips and they have butts because they're mammals. Mammary glands, galactose. Who wants to read this? Everyone wants to look at beautiful women. They want to look at beautiful men. Why do you think superheroes are, what was my friend called them? Calls them bundles of sticks in spandex or something, because they're just, the muscular characters with the painted on costumes. Nobody wants to read this. This isn't grabbing anyone by the balls. Oh, that's another thing a story needs to do. A story, your first issue should grab the reader by the balls, suck them into the story, and make them curious to find out what happens in episode 2. This completely fails to do that. You're not curious. You're not turning pages because you're curious. You're turning pages because you want to see how bad it is. It's pretty bad. Another thing I noticed with wing or left of center people, is they do this weird thing where they want to be praised for having friends of other races, where normal people have friends of other races and they don't think anything about it. It's just, I don't know why you go out of your bend over backwards to virtue signal. It's not a virtue. It's just you're usually friends with the people around you. So if there's an Italian around you, you're most likely going to be friends with them, or an Irish or an African or whatever. Anyway, it's just something they do. It feels forced and awkward. Like, look at me, I have an Italian friend or an African friend. It's like, well, Mags, stop it. Just, it's stop. Okay, so everything here is forced punk rock, so random, 3 chords. There is an interesting sub-story, which this girl is channeling Abe Lincoln, or she thinks she's possessed by the ghost of Abraham Lincoln. At first I thought it was just a, like, oh-so-random joke, but apparently it's a real thing, and they're going to try to, I think they're going to explore it in a secondary issue. So that was interesting. Some of the things were interesting. I mean, you can't have a comic book that's just absolute garbage. But this kind of try-hard stuff about, it feels like when people go out of their way to mention the punk bands. I mean, this is not so much anymore, but this is back in the 80s and 90s. They'd have their jackets with the punk, the badges, you know, sewed on or whatever, however you attach it. And it was like, okay, you like the Misfits. Well, you know, a lot of people like the Misfits. We just don't necessarily, we listen to them, but we don't necessarily have to advertise that we listen to them, or whoever, the Ramones. Yeah, you know, the Ramones were an incredibly popular band because they're talented. It feels like this kind of edgy 3-chord punk rock stuff is mainstream writers and editors in comics today are the equivalent of the 3-chord bands, where they have a lot of attitude, but they don't actually have a lot of talent. And the reason that even bands that people make fun of, like Taylor Swift or in the 80s and 90s, Guns N' Roses. Well, the thing about Taylor Swift and GNR is that they can actually play their instruments, compose songs, and perform them to a very, very high level. They have a ton of talent. Or even a band like Metallica, which has been around for years, they are a high-level musicians. And I know it's like musicians or people snobbish about music always think, you know, jazz and classical music are like the top of the food chain, but a well-crafted rock song is not easy to do. Otherwise everyone would do it. You think Nirvana sounds so simple, and musically Nirvana is simpler than a band like, I don't know, Megadeth. I mean, just the technical skills in playing the guitar, but Nirvana managed to convey emotion using those simple riffs. So how simple is it really? In comic books, it's not easy to write good comic books. And the thing about, or any book is, if it was easy, everyone would do it. And one measure of a good comic book is sales. You just can't get around merit. And that's just why part of the thing about why the anti-Comicsgate people are so mad about Comicsgate is because Comicsgate has some measure of success because it's succeeding on merit with no help from mainstream media. Comicsgate, there are campaigns that have made 6 figures all on their own, with the only support they get is from fellow Comicsgaters. Mag Visaggio and all the other mainstreamers, the purse puppies of the industry, they get all the support in the world, and her books sell 900 copies by issue 5, and then they get canceled. They get all the free publicity. Kwanzaa got all the free publicity on CBR and all the comic sites. His second crowdfunded campaign did half of what his first crowdfunded campaign did, with all that publicity. Your boy Zach did $200,000 on his own with just us helping him. Then Mark Waid decided to give him a little inadvertent help, and actually he doubled Zach's money, and he grossed over $400,000 on his first Jawbreakers. So thank you, Mark Waid for that unusual remedy of enrichment. I wonder if it wasn't for the concept of punitive damages to punish bad behavior, that would almost be an offset if I was Wade's attorney, but I'm not a super attorney. Anyway, this Osa random punkness, it's just, you're trying so hard. And okay, this is the ending. It's just, it's not exactly cringe, but it's pretty close. Because the thing is, this is about nothing. You're trying to build a comic out of nothing. You're not taking a stand about anything. She's throwing a party at the White House. Okay, but you're not. I mean, that's it. That's the whole kind of plot line. Is you're throwing a party at the White House, and she has a little Marilyn. I almost said Marilyn Manson. That's not Marilyn Monroe. And Madonna, I think, did a video that it was a play on Marilyn Monroe. What is it? What's Marilyn Monroe's movie? A Girl's Best Friend. Diamonds Are a Girl's Best Friend or something like that. Marilyn Monroe actually made some good movies. Anyway, this is the end, and it's supposed to be this, all right, new romantics. Let's set this place on fire. And so I guess that's supposed to be Marilyn Monroe in the White House having sex with different presidents. And there's plain music, and it says, let's set the world on fire. Let's burn. That's it. That's the end of the comic. It's like punk rock, 3 chords. That's it. That's the whole story. Yeah, that's not enough. That's not enough to be a story. This is why it got canceled after 1 issue. This is just, I think Mag Visaggio is actually getting worse over time. Anyway, this is I have a few other books to look at that are almost as bad as this. This is Marilyn Manor. First Brat. Fight the Patriarchy. Mags. Even though Mags is I guess he says she says he's trans, but I think he's a cis heterosexual cross-dressing man. He's a guy who cross-dresses as a woman, but he's in relationships with women. He's not gay. So how does that make him trans? You mean he's just a cross-dressing man? That's back in the, what do they call this? Back in the old days, it was called transvestites. He's just a heterosexual man, has sex with women, but he likes to dress as a woman for like a kink or something. I don't know. I mean, hey, no problem with that. You know, more power to you. You're only on this earth for a very short time. If that's how you get down, then go for it. Not that you need my blessing, but do you think that had a little something to do with you getting books that get canceled after 5 issues? Is it possible that there are other people in the industry or on the industry sidelines that are more deserving of getting offers? Okay, Ethan Van Sciver and Richard Meyer. They're not getting offers from mainstream publishing companies because they know people like Mark Waid will, and the 12 Angry Twitter sociopaths will try to interfere with those contracts. Richard Meyer and Ethan Van Sciver can sell product. Doesn't matter what they sell. You can put them on Maryland. If you put a gun to their heads, to Zach's head, put a gun to his head and say, I want you to write Maryland Manor. You can get whoever artist you want. And, you know, I think you're going to sell it. And if you forced him to do it, yes, he could sell more than 900 copies. I mean, if you just tried a little harder, you could be selling 9,000 copies. Which, even 9,000 copies isn't that great. Anyway, this is Marilyn Manor. This is what Kwanzaa was just spurging out about. You can watch my last video, or you can go on Twitter and follow and read through Mags's timeline or Kwanzaa's timeline. Though don't harass them, just read them. Read them silently without making comment. Anyway, like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys all next episode.